Hello there. Welcome back to the Chap's Guide. As you know, my name is Ash, and I am your host on this journey through men's style, self-development, and personal grooming. And you will see today I've been joined by a very special guest indeed, Timothy Big Pretty Crowe. Now, of course, Tim is the host of his own channel, Big Pretty Man, and he's a bit of an icon when it comes to men's style, because he's been on a journey very much similar to my own, to demystify the world of style and help people feel more confident and boost our self-esteem when it comes to dressing well. Now, first of all, welcome, Tim.
I'm very glad to be here.
I say welcome, Tim, because I'm actually in Philadelphia at the moment in the USA, so it's not my natural environment. This is where Tim's from, and I'm actually here visiting Tim. So thank you for having me, first of all, and thank you for joining me on the channel. So when it comes to style, it's such an individual and personal journey for men. I really wanted to get some of your insights and thoughts about style itself. And I've created some notes, right? So this is not spontaneous. I have actually prepared these questions for Tim. But the first question is a very open one. And that is, how would you describe, I mean, we can all see it, but how would you describe your personal style?
You know, that's a good question. I think I would probably describe it as modified classic with flair. I mean, that's pretty much me. You know, I like the traditional classic dress because it's timeless. You can wear it during any era. Tell you a quick thing. I was actually watching an old episode of Mary Tyler Moore from 1973, 74. You know, and through that show, if you watch it, all the styles, you know, it's the very bright 70s colors and the bell bottoms and all this, except for Lou Grant, who always wore a basic suit. And he usually didn't wear that big giant tie. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, that man could walk in a room right now and nobody blink an eye. Whereas all the rest of them, it'd be like, you know, what is this retro night at the disco? You know,
very true.
And that's what I like about it. However, as I say in my channel, I believe you have to have some individuality in your dress. And one thing I really dislike was I call the suit clones. You know, it's so much, you know, I'm always glad to see a man in a suit these days for anything, but in any occasion. But so many of them wearing the exact same thing, the exact same tie, the exact same color suit, and they, you know, it looks like there's somebody just a stamp just printing them out somewhere. Mm. You see this at a lot of venues like weddings and receptions and cocktail parties. And I'm like, you know, just bring a little individuality into that. You know, I'm not wearing it today, but, you know, pocket squares, a boutonniere or a pin, yeah. It just sets it off. So, and I skate that line between being classy and maybe going a little eccentric.
Yeah.
But, you know, as long as I don't get too far outside that line, I'm okay.
It's a hard line to walk, particularly in this modern era, isn't it? Because so few people dress up.
Yes. It's the way people dress today, well, we have really lost a lot of the style, a lot of the pride in your dress. Everyone is dressing down. I see people walking the streets in pajama bottoms. I mean, both men and women. Though some of the women actually wear the fuzzy bathroom slippers on the street. Yeah. You know, this has become a thing. I mean, it looks like you're going out to get your paper, not going to going out in public. And that it's just, you know, everybody looks slouchy. A lot of gym wear. Everybody looks like they're coming back from the gym, or they went to the gym and suddenly become homeless.
Yeah.
You know. Like, you know, they went to the gym and suddenly they were homeless, and they've been wandering for a month in the same clothes. A certain pride in the way you look, you know, and a nice suit or a nice outfit, something pressed, something ironed, you know, the attention to detail, which gives people so much more self-esteem.
I think I use this term, being an intentionally well-dressed man.
Exactly.
Whereas people, I think these days, don't think about what they wear. They throw on clothes and they just go out. For me, being well-dressed is actually thinking about the things you're going to do today and dressing accordingly. So, next question. Mm-hmm. Tell me about your style journey. So where did it begin for you? When did you transition from being an ordinary person to being an intentionally well-dressed man?
Big Pretty was never an ordinary person. But when did I start dressing like this? Actually, it's kind of fun. I started off being well dressed. And then I went through a period, actually when I was a very young man, I mean, we're talking about like teenage years and a little later, I was always very neat and well dressed. And then I went through a period in my 20s, I don't know what it was, where I stopped doing that. It was a lot of Harley shirts and, and jeans. I was in a biker situation at one point, so leather and all of that. Lots of rings on my fingers, long hair. I actually looked like Kiefer Sutherland from the Lost Boys in the back. I'd kill to have that back with good clothes, but with the right clothes. But there's you can't unring the bell and you can't go back in time. But really, for many years I dressed like that. I mean, I didn't give a lot of detail to my dress. What finally made me come back to it was actually a little later in life, like in my late 30s, and I was like, I had to go to a big event. Let me correct that. A friend of mine suddenly invited me to this big event, and I had on a Harley shirt, blue jeans, and all this. And this was an academic event, nice. A mixer. So everybody else is in, at least in sports jackets and things like that. And here I stand, and at that time, I was, a professor. They didn't know I was a professor. They thought that, I think they thought I was somebody's, gardener or something. They kept looking at me. And I thought, that's when it hit me. You really got to change this up. That young thing is over. I never looked bad in those times. I mean, I did wear well-fitted and clothes and all that. But that youth look, where you just don't care.
Yeah.
And the biker look, I'm like, you're not a biker anymore. You haven't had a motorcycle in 10 years, 20 years. So you need to drop this. You need to start getting a good wardrobe again. And that's when I really delved into it. And I was like, and started looking and finding my own style and finding, what I liked and what I didn't like. So that's how I started. So I did it, then I was had a long break, and then I did it again.
Yeah.
So.
And the journey continues.
And it still continues, yes.
Because I think any well-dressed person stands in front of the mirror, and there should always be somewhere you want to go, isn't there? There's that little bit further that you want to reach for.
Yes, definitely.
You might not achieve it. On that note, all right, so you are a man who clearly knows how to use style to influence the world around you. The wardrobe is an important thing. I'd like you to imagine, all right, that there was a fire. Your home was on fire, and you had the opportunity.
Hang on, let me knock on this wood. We don't want to talk this here.
We don't want it to happen. But imagine your home was on fire, and you have the opportunity to run in and say one item, one thing from your wardrobe. What would it be? The bowler.
Be my bowler.
Would it be bowler or hats in general?
Be my bowler.
It would be the bowler.
I would try to grab every hat I had, of course, and I have a lot of hats.
So would you say hats are a very important part of your style?
Both essential to my style, as well as a practical thing, an essential thing I need.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I spent a couple of days now with Ash, and we went out walking around. It's summertime, and he had no hat on his head. And I'm sitting there looking, I'm thinking, I would be a lobster by now with my bald head. I have very sensitive skin, so I actually have to wear a hat of some sort. And I'm not going to wear a baseball cap.
No, thankfully.
So my hats are both part of my image, as well as an essential to keep my head covered, both in the winter and from being burned. Actually get burned worse in the winter because of the way they handle the sun.
Yeah.
So I have to wear hats year round. I don't leave the house without a hat.
True. And I think yesterday we walked around the city and you were wearing, if I remember right, a white bowler.
I had on my Panama.
Summer bowler.
Oh no, yeah. I had on my Panama. And I had a white bowler on a match.
As we walked around, I remember we walked down the street and there was a lady sat on the stairs in the front of the house, and she shouted out as we walked past, "Nice hat."
Yeah.
And you reciprocated and thanked her for it, but that was the only thing that she said, "Nice hat." And I think you're right. Hats are so rare in the modern era that they do distinguish you from, as you say, I mean, in America as we are here, the home of the baseball cap, they are prolific amongst the population, aren't they?
Yes.
To see a bowler hat here is a rarity. A white bowler hat, I mean, I've rarely ever seen them. It definitely is such a distinctive feature. I think it drew the attention of that person, and that was the short amount of time we spent together. So Very interesting. So my next question, let me have a look, let me check. What do you think about modern styles? The people that we see today walking amongst us, the way that they choose to dress today.
Well, it's like I said earlier. I mean, there is no style today. That is my or very little in what people wear. People throw on. They all look like they dressed out of a hamper. The next morning after a one night stand. They're just grabbing and throwing on whatever they can get from a hamper. You don't see anything pressed. You don't see anything ironed. It's all jeans and these track suits. When did track suits become a suit? It is a lot of people treat it as a suit, and
True.
And this leisure wear, this dressing down, as people say, I'm not impressed. I mean, the thing is, and you can see it. Have you ever noticed people dress like that, half horrible posture, hands in pockets, dipped over, all this? Now, especially, I can understand a little bit with younger men. Because younger men are going to wear, they're younger men. They don't need the help, as much.
Yeah.
And they're going to go, a little more casual. When I see a man in his 30s and 40s or our age, and he is wearing just a t-shirt and a baggy pair of khakis that don't fit him, or worn out jeans and New Balance sneakers, I'm like, where's your? They look like they don't care what they look. It looks like their self-esteem's low.
What I hate to see is somebody wearing sportswear who's clearly not in good physical shape. So, you're wearing athletic wear with a big old guts hanging out the front, and it just looks so incongruous with the clothing that you're wearing.
If you watch my channel, I know you do, that's one thing I always talk about it. And I started that channel for extra large men, for men that were large who have low self-esteem already. And they're in this deadly cycle of, well, I'm fat, nobody find me attractive anyway, I don't look good anyway, so what's the better way to wear? And then they're wearing stuff that makes them look horrible, and so they're getting the reaction, and it just this chain keeps going back and forth. And the one thing I hated seeing, and when I started my channel, was I got tired of seeing what I call the front butt, as you know.
Yes.
The belly, if you push together, looks like somebody's hind end. You got the crack of their hind end showing in the back. They got the pants done under their belly, which I understand is a little more comfortable, but it looks horrible. And they're out in public like this, and I can just see that. I'm like, you can look so much better. Just a few things. You don't have to get fancy. And you can look a lot better. And the thing is, when you dress well, it makes you feel better. It actually makes you aspire to be better.
Absolutely.
It's worked with me. That's what I do. It definitely helps whenever I leave the house and I feel like I look fantastic. Now, I have a huge ego anyway, but that just boosts it even more.
I find that hard to believe, Tim. I mean, what I would say to people is, Tim, his channel is called Big Pretty Man. And it's about, what's the term used? Being large and in charge.
Being large and in charge.
I absolutely advocate and recommend that you go and have a look at his channel, regardless of your physical stature, because the advice and the tips offered are, something you could utilize in whatever stage of life you are yourself, or whatever physical stature you have, to make yourself look a bit better. So the question I asked was, what do you think of style at the moment? Where do you think it's going? What path are we on? Because how can we become, worse than we are today? Where is the next direction for us?
I actually think humans are extreme. That's part of human nature. And we seem to sway all the way one way with the arrow, with the meter, and then all of a sudden when we get sick of it or it gets worn out, we'll swing all the way back. And they've done that throughout history. And I think, and there's even signs of that, I know you did a video on this, there are signs showing that men, and for one thing, we're talking men here, and whether you're straight or gay or whatever, whatever you're attracted to, women definitely prefer a man well dressed. Oh, yeah. I am a man of near 300 pounds, and a little smaller now, but in that time, I've seen very well proportioned men in shape, handsome men. Women walk by them and talk to me. Why? Because I'm dressed well.
Well, I shared with you earlier, all right? So just for full disclosure, I'm visiting Tim because he's getting married in a couple of days.
Yeah.
And I'm in an Airbnb in downtown Philadelphia. So I'm in a sort of surrounded by bars here. Whilst I was waiting for Tim to come down to the apartment to have a chat, I walked across the road. I'm wearing, as I am now, right? So I'm wearing just what I would describe as a cotton travelling jacket and a shirt. I walked across the street to have a beer whilst I was waiting for Tim. I'd been in this bar 5 minutes. I was the only man in there who was in any way what you would describe as well-dressed. And a lady at the bar asked me to join her for a drink within 5 minutes of... Now, admittedly, she'd been drinking, all right? So she wasn't perhaps making logical decisions. But because I was, I believe, well-dressed, she asked me to join her for a drink. It's exactly what you say. It's about self-esteem. It's about the impact that your clothing has on the people around you. If people realise that, I'm sure they would dress better.
Well, humans go by, I talked about something like one of the second videos I ever made. Humans go by, we're a social animal, not just instinctive, social. And that's part of our attraction to people. And actually it can override the physical. And we look for things of social worth. It's part of the evaluation, men or women. And when someone sees someone dressed well fitted, well groomed, well coordinated, that automatically says whether you're wealthy or not, it shows you have social worth, that you are somehow professional, that you are somehow, some sort of a professional person, sophisticated person. That is attractive. Mm-hmm. It's attractive to men and women. A woman in a nice dress, her hair, and even though they look good physically, you're thinking, that hair is at least $300. That dress, we know this. It just, even if we don't think of it subconsciously, we know this. It is a major factor in attraction.
It does.
So, and a man well-dressed who looks good is always going to override some hot dude who's wearing a t-shirt with a hole in it.
Oh, totally.
And white socks with sandals on. You'll be surprised how many times they'll walk by them and walk to you. So it is part of human nature. And why anyone would not want to look their best, I don't understand.
Totally. So following that stream of thought then, mm-hmm. right? So we're thinking about the way people are dressed and how we think they may dress. Who would you say in society today, all right? So the people who are known to us, within the media, within the world at large, who would you say is well dressed? Who would you say stands as a bit of an icon for those of us who are intentionally well dressed men?
I would say, as far as like an actor who, when he puts it on so well, and he travels it well, is, and you'll have to help me, he was the recent 007.
Daniel Craig.
Daniel Craig. When that man puts on a suit, and you think about it, he's kind of a craggy-faced guy,
He is.
But when he puts on a suit, when he's got the sleeves right and all of that, that man is stunning. He is such an example, and he's so clean in the way he looks. So tight. Now, true, he's playing 007, but I've seen him in other shots in public. He's always sharp.
He is, and he is, as you say, he is. If you looked at him just facially, he's not a traditionally beautiful man.
No, he's not.
Not like some of the, if I would say, like Sean Connery, the previous actors who played the role, or in the modern era, Henry Cavill's been talked about as potentially the next Bond. A classically beautiful man, to use that term. But Dan Craig is quite craggy. He looks his age. He's not super tall. He's only in his, he's only 5 foot something.
He looks seasoned, a seasoned man.
He looks like a tough chap. But throw that suit on him, and it elevates him, doesn't it?
It definitely does.
I take your point. That's an excellent example of somebody, I think. So, moving on. What advice, is a good one, this should be easy for you. What advice would you give to somebody watching this today thinking, okay, I understand what you're saying, I want to elevate my style. What advice would you give to them? How do they do that?
And I've talked about this a lot, and this is regardless of size or if you're wanting to get started, I would say start with something simple, something that is pretty basic. I would even recommend go getting a suit at first. Get yourself a good pair of dress pants, khakis or whatever, and get yourself a good blazer, and of course the blue blazer.
Oh.
And he stole it from me, but it's okay. I've always called it the little black dress of menswear, and it really is. It goes with everything. You can wear it to just about any event. It's a good starter kit. Get yourself a white dress shirt, traditional white dress shirt. get yourself a good pair of khakis, the blue blazer, and get yourself, I would recommend a blue and red striped tie. That, for me, that is the best one to start with. Because it's very basic. You can wear that anywhere. You can start to get a feel of how to be a well-dressed man. It doesn't require a lot of color coordination. That stuff will come later. You can study that type of thing. And I'd recommend that too, study. Believe it or not, being a well-dressed man, you need to look into it. You need to learn the color wheel. I say color, to learn how to do opposing colors and what they call complementing colors. Start with complementing colors in your dress. If you do that, then you're going to start well, because that's going to lead that's the first footsteps in the journey. That's going to be like, well, what about this? Well, what about pocket squares? Well, what about this color? How do I combine this color? It's the start of that journey, and you can start it with the most basic: white shirt, red and blue striped tie, the classic blue blazer, and just a basic pair of khakis like he's wearing here. Yeah. That you start with that, and you're doing well. Also, the only other thing I would say is with doing that, get used to the idea that these type of clothes are not like more casual, deep casual or dress down clothes. You have to iron them. You have to make sure that they are tailor fitted to you. That'll introduce you to tailoring. That'll introduce you to ironing, learning to iron. So I think that one starter kit is the best. Now with shoes, listen to Ash. He's better with shoes than me.
No, and I think you're absolutely right. I mean, the blue blazer, you can wear it to every event in your life, and you can be buried in it. So it's a suit of clothing that can, cover all angles.
You can in a more if you're not like the main person at a wedding, like I have a wedding in 3 days. If one of the gentlemen showed up in that outfit, I would not blink an eye. No. I would not see that as inappropriate.
To be honest, I mean, you talk about you don't have to buy a suit in this day and age. That is the substitute for a suit.
It is. It is. You can wear it to a fairly, unless it's something that's requiring formal wear. You can wear it. You can wear it to a cocktail party. You can wear it to a wedding. You can wear it. You can wear it just about any situation. And it's a good starter. And after that, I would say, I'm not going, well, why not? I'll self-promote. This is my city. I made a video about having what I call the quad, the 5 quad, where there's a certain amount, you need 5 shirts, 5 pair of pants, 5 vests, and 5 jackets. If you watch that video, and Ash has done things similar, I think that is a next step to me, is to start to get a package. A certain number of things that you can interchange. But first, go buy a blue blazer today.
Yeah, I utterly endorse that. I mean, that's a good starting point.
Yeah, blue blazer is the best place to start. That's the training wheels of a well-dressed man.
Absolutely. So we've talked about style. We're rounding up. I ask one question always to get a rounded sort of opinion of people. If I could say to you, right, choose one song, a sort of theme for your life, or a song that you go to, which gives you solace, or empowers you, or gives you a boost. What song would you pick? Now you're a similar age to me, so I'm guessing I would know what you're going to say, or I'd certainly be in my wheelhouse as well. But what would you pick?
Now, are we talking about just your favorite song in general, or the more inspirational song? Either
or both.
Believe it or not, it's not as deep as a song as most people would think. But it Shook Me All Night Long by AC/DC.
Classic.
That song gets me going. Now, I like it. There's a lot of different songs for different types of moods. I have a favorite song for when I'm sad. I have a favorite song when I really want to feel pepped up and all of that. But now, for a general, if I had to think of an absolute favorite song in general, the one I play at least once a week, it would be Shook Me All Night Long by AC/DC, which also shows my age.
No, I think that's a good one. Yeah. Well, I think we've been on a bit of a journey. We've asked quite a lot of questions. We've talked about style in general. We've put the world to rights. We know where we're going in the world now to dress better. Thank you so much for joining me here on the channel and sharing the benefit of your experience and your thoughts on style. For all the guys who watched the Chap's Guide, thank you for inviting me to join you at your wedding. I'm very much looking forward to it.
And let me say, part of my journey you've been a part of. You've turned into one of my best friends in the world. I mean, and this is the first time we've ever met in person, by the way. But we talk, at least once a day?
Yes, truly.
And have for like 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
So, and you've been part of that. I feed off things you say, you kind of do with me. And you've been a big part of that evolution, and I want to thank you. And I can't think of anybody better I can have as my best man at one wedding. And thank you for coming.
Thank you, Tim. I'm very much looking forward to it. It's any opportunity to dress up well.
Amen.
It's worth having. So thank you for joining me today. Usual things, if you enjoyed the video, thumbs up, click subscribe if you'd like to see more, and I look forward to seeing you all again very soon.